was my immediate, or middle is Keeling. Miller. There we go. Keeling Miller. And on her lap is my daughter Paige. To my immediate right is Jeremy Kinder. Jeremy was our freshman coach this year. And on my far left is my wife Steve. So with that, the way in which we'll do the program tonight is we'll have a quick invocation. And we'll have one of the senior captains lead that, and then the head table will eat, and then we'll have the players eat in order of rank and seniority, varsity, JV, and freshmen, and parents. Sorry. Whatever's left, you can have. Unfortunately, one of the questions brought up is Coach Weedman isn't here tonight. He's off playing with his little stock cars, so he had a race tonight, so he was unfortunately not able to be with us. So with that, thank you for coming. We appreciate it, and I think James Thorson has been elected to lead us in a quick word of prayer. Maybe to be politically correct here, is there anybody that is like totally against that? And if there is, I'll be happy to respect that.
Is there anyone that feels they can do a better job than me?
Tough. Stand up. Let's go.
Okay, everyone please bow their heads. Lord, we want to take this time to thank you for all of the great people that are gathered in this hall today. And we also want to thank you for all the great food that we are being able to eat, and we want to thank you for all the folks that helped prepare the food that we are about to eat. So thank you. Amen. Great.
lot to celebrate tonight. Obviously, it would have been much sweeter had we been celebrating the same way we were last year, but all in all, it was a very successful season. You take a look at all 3 levels of our high school program, and all three for the first time that we've had the program, all had winning records. Varsity team was 20-18, junior varsity team was 14-8, and the 9th grade team was 24-3. And when you have a banquet, it's you're kind of concluding things, you're saying goodbye to the seniors in your program, but at the same time, you're looking at a new beginning. And obviously, with the success that all 3 levels in our program have had, it's a very bright, what I would consider a very bright future, considering what we're going to have coming back. One particular issue that I would like to address before we get started with all of the awards and everything like that is, I don't know, and really this is an issue, I guess it deals more with the parents than it does with the players. And I would like to thank those parents who have been very supportive of our program over the last 4 years and will continue to support our program. And I also realize that the relationship that a coach has with the parents is a very tenuous relationship. And I bring this issue to the forefront tonight, and I was prompted because of a situation that happened this summer, in which I came home from a ball game and I had a message on my answering machine from a parent, which I will not repeat. But what upset me, I guess, with that was the fact that my little girl had to come home and listen to that message and ask her mommy why the man on the answering machine was swearing at her daddy. And that upsets me, because now that's getting personal and that's getting into my life, into my family. And therefore, I wanted to address a couple of issues relating to our program that I think players within our program understand much better sometimes than we as adults do. And most of you know that, or most of you probably knew, that we didn't have a mandatory meeting or meeting in the spring that we normally have. Now, part of the reason for that was because the year before we had that meeting and we only had 4 parents show up. And so, with this situation, with this issue that arose this summer, I decided that the best time to have a parents' meeting was when I had all the parents here. And that would be tonight. And so, what I want to do for those parents that are still going to be with us for the next few years is I want to provide you with a little bit of an understanding of our philosophy and our program. And I have distributed part of our handbook that's about 30 pages thick, that you probably don't see because your young man probably doesn't show it to you. But I have done part of it that has the basic philosophies, team policies, and team rules run off. And so fellas, if you wouldn't mind just popping up real quick and giving that to your parents.
Cut. Cut. You go back over and shut the shades on that window over there, the blinds. All right. Thanks.
First thing that I'd like to mention, and you don't have to read it now, I mean you can take it home and read it or whatever, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview of a couple of things. First of all, the philosophy of this program is to teach these young men how to prepare for life. And what I mean by that is we want them to understand what it's like to acquire a work ethic, what it's like to learn responsibility, what it's like to take and develop a mental attitude that creates being able to overcome any particular step backwards that they may take. It's also to understand how to be a team player. It's also teaching them to understand the decision making that goes on. That is our first priority. And I will guarantee you, each and every one of you parents, that this coaching staff will treat each young man that comes through our program with integrity, with respect, and with all of our particular efforts to make him a better young man. Secondly, when it comes to dealing with issues and situations, there are obviously team rules and policies that apply to different scenarios. However, you are dealing with over 50-some kids in our program. Each one of those young men all have different backgrounds from which they come from. All of them have a different temperament. All of them have a different mentality. You have to, as a coach, learn how you're going to approach each young man individually and then how they're going to fit in to those policies and issues. And you also have to balance how severe those particular issues or situations are. You cannot blanket 50 kids because each kid is different and so is each situation or issue that arises. But I also want you to understand that there's a balance that goes along with that. And the balance is that you have to be a coach too. And sometimes a good butt chewing is needed once in a while. Tough love, if you want to call it that. The only problem with baseball is when you do that, everything gets magnified because it's so quiet. You know, in basketball and football, you don't hear it. All right? But in baseball, it's magnified. And that's part of the beauty of that game. But I hope that you understand that that is the coach coming out and not something that is personal. That is something that we imply and tell our kids that when we step between the two lines, understand it's a coach-player relationship. It's nothing personal. And anything that may happen between the lines stays between the lines. It's never taken outside of that fence. And sometimes you may wonder why. You know, I'll give you a good example. There were a couple of times, situations this year where we may have had a couple of guys toss their bat, maybe a little bit too hard. Okay? But understanding their temperament, you want to make sure that it doesn't go beyond a certain line. But one thing that maybe you don't notice is when you see an umpire after that particular little situation, and you see an umpire step forward and begin to reach for his mask, the first thing I look at is the umpire. If I start seeing this, I'm going to be all over that kid because I'm trying to save that kid from getting thrown out of the ballgame. And that happened a number of times this year. There's so many things that maybe you don't see that we do that prompt us to do what we do. And the last issue that I'm going to address is playing time. Okay? Playing time is not an issue. The amount of work that this particular coaching staff, time that they have put in, I think deserves the respect that they get to decide on playing time and lineups. And so with that, that's the issue. Now, I don't want to leave you with the impression that I am unapproachable, because I'm not. And the kids know that. If you had seen the faces that I had to look at after the game last Tuesday, it would have killed you. And these seniors had to leave. there's a lot of more personal attachment than what you will ever be able to see or what you will ever be able to know. And players that understand their limitations and their roles are much bigger and better people than a person who's got all the abilities in the world that has the crappiest attitude going. And I will have more respect for that young man than any player with greatness. And I will give you 3 great examples. Joey Brown, Eric Buer, and Charlie Rush. And one example I'm going to use is this. I said to Eric, about 3 weeks left in the season, we had to make some decisions. Because in those last 2 weeks, we wanted a lineup that we wanted to go into tournaments with. And Eric probably individually did not have the type of year that he was hoping to have. And from a coaching standpoint, he wasn't having the type of year that we had expected him to have. That happens. You know, that happens. And I said to Eric, do I need to explain why we made these decisions? And Eric looked me straight in the eye and he said, no, Coach, I just didn't do the job. And I'll tell you what, that meant more to me than anything I heard all summer. And kids understand it, players understand it, because we explain it to them. And I respect parents' personal attachment and their emotional attachment to their kids. I really do. But I'm on the other side of the fence as a coach too. And there will come a time when I'm probably going to look through fog-covered glasses, fog-filled glasses, and be in that same situation, but I hope. Like I said, I'm not an unapproachable person. Anytime that you have a question, please see me, and I'll be happy to talk to you. All right, enough said. We got some celebrating to do. Let's get on with that. Okay? Like I said, we had a very successful freshman year. Probably the most successful freshman year since we started freshman baseball. And that's been 8 years ago. Record 24-3. There were a number of players from the freshman team that came up and helped us out at the varsity level a little bit. And we're expecting a lot of great things in the next couple of years, provided we work at it. But it just doesn't happen. You have to work. So with that, I would like to turn the podium over to Coach Kinder, and he's got some awards that he needs to give. Okay? Before we get started with that, I should mention one thing. Kids are going to receive letters or certificate of recognition. But also this year, believe it or not, this is the first time this has happened. This particular group of 9 through 12 players achieved Iowa High School Athletics Association Excellence in Academic Achievement Award. Okay? And being a teacher first and foremost, I find that the most gratifying. Because it obviously means that not only do we have outstanding young men, but we also have academically capable young men as well. And in order to achieve that award, you must hold a team GPA of somewhere between 3.0 and 3.24. So hats off to you guys for your classroom work. That is outstanding. Okay? Coach Kinder. All right. I'll keep this short. The history repeats itself. I'm sure Coach Manager has a lot more to say. First of all, I would thank the parents for the freshmen. I know we play some early games, some 11 o'clock games, and of the 10 guys that are here now, their parents, I think I saw most of you at one or more games. I'm sure that means a lot to them. We don't get a lot of fans out there, but when they look up to their parents coming on lunch hour or taking the day off for them, it means a lot to them. Second of all, I'd like to thank Keely, girlfriend. It's been a long summer. some days 8 in the morning to 11:30, 12 at night. But it's worth it. All right, no complaints whatsoever. I enjoyed working with the varsity level too. Like Coach Lambert said, we had a great year. 24-3 we ended up. One time we were 20-0. Had a couple things go wrong in the team the last couple weeks. Lost 3 of our last 7. Kind of fell apart, but all in all, it was a great year. Kids hoped for an undefeated season, and it was very attainable. 24-3 is not bad at all. I was very impressed. Coach Lambert and I talked before the season, and the 40 games that we had scheduled, we were hoping to be 30-10. That was our goal as coaches, and we exceeded that quite easily, and they did a nice job of that. Start out, another person I'd like to thank is our manager. She did a nice job. If it wasn't for her, doing the scorebook, doing the stats, there wouldn't be newspaper articles. A lot of weeks we played 10 games in 5 days, and it's hard to remember all those games, but looking back, it's easy to look at the book. And she does a hard job to do, all right? Riding the bus with 20 other guys, all by herself. But so the kids got all together. We'd like to give her a little gift, about $50 to Valley West Mall for like Coach Lambert said before, the team reached the 3.0 GPA level, and it's excellent. I know it's summer baseball, you don't have a lot of classes, but you have that last month of your school, which is the toughest time to get your grades up, and they did a nice job on their part. Start out by giving that and the participation award, Gabe Baker. Gabe was second baseman and pitcher. Good job. Next, shortstop pitcher Kyle Bruner. Pitcher, shortstop, third baseman Aaron Enrill. And catcher. Outfielder Brandon Foldis. Outfielder Jeremy Lane. Catcher, pitcher Dan Showhays. Second baseman, Nathan Sawyer. First baseman, pitcher Ryan Thorson. And outfielder Aaron Bailey. another award is the Coach's Appreciation Award. And to be quite honest with you, it's a very, very tough call. All right, these guys were all close team. We didn't, great team, no problem whatsoever. Everybody did their job. It's a very tough award to choose, but after thinking about it, there's one kid that kind of stuck out. It's a kid that came into the season knowing he wasn't going to play until at least July. July 6th was, and we were done the 17th, so he's going to have a week of the season. Still stuck it out, came out to every practice, came to every game, and worked out the best he could. Coached first base most of the year for me, helped out in every way he could. And I think it's a lot to say for a kid, when he knew he couldn't play, if you knew you had a 3-month season, you go and play 1 week, you probably wouldn't go out. A lot of guys do. But I think he loves the team enough, and he's young, he knows he's going to get a shot next few years. So, Coach's Appreciation Award, Nathan Silk. I guess to explain, he had I think, ACL, was it? His knee was torn during basketball, and so he couldn't play until the middle of July. So, next, the MVP award, which is voted on by the players. I think it shows a lot of the winner. Of course, peers vote on him. They think pretty highly of him. It was close, but we didn't get to vote until tonight because of a rain out in our last game. So I didn't know what to expect, but I'm not at all surprised by it, and I think he's well deserved. His catch being shows. Well, finally, just a few words. Again, the team had a great year. I think the parents that are going to be around for the sophomores and juniors, we got a lot to expect. We have a good class of sophomores and juniors. Added with these upcoming freshmen, it's going to be a great year next year and then the year after. Like Coach Lambert said, we had 3 freshmen participate at the varsity level this year. 1 at the JV level. I think they helped out a lot. Did a nice job. Just want to say it was a good season. I was happy to coach them. And look forward to next year.
Get over here. Get over here.
Has no idea. Coach got a little frustrated this year. After a couple last weeks, we went down to Carlisle and got a little frustrated with the players. So we went out and we were going to warm up and got a little too frustrated and broke his back. Then he turned around and looks at us and goes, "Oh, I broke another one." I broke him last season too. So. But had a good season. We were 24-3. He's one of the best coaches we've ever had. I hope that I have him back next year. Here's this. made it fun for all the guys too. I think all of us had fun and stuff. Tries to make the rabbit be cushioned so he won't break it. He's fun with that dirt ball so don't break it.
All right, next is the JV level. And junior varsity level is sometimes a contemptuous level to play because, you know, it's made up of a combination of sophomores and juniors. And, you know, based on the evaluation of the talent and skill levels, you know, that's where we have our sophomores and our juniors play. They're not quite ready yet for the varsity level. And so sometimes you get a real mixture of chemistry. And you never know what to expect. They're always playing when it's the hottest part of the day. They always run out of pitching. And it's really kind of, I think, somewhat of a small miracle that the JV ended up 14-8, considering that they only really had 4 pitchers to throw 22 ball games. And I kept telling Coach Weedman, you know, he told me his record one day, and I said, "You got to be kidding me." He said, "No, we're 12 and I think it was 6 at the time." I said, "You got to be kidding me," because you know you never tell me, we could sort of lose track. And I said, "Coach," I said, "if you can win 2 more ball games, I'm going to vote for you Coach of the Year," because for those kids to finish 14-8, I thought was just an outstanding job, not only on his part, but also on the young men that played as well. And so hats off to you guys because, you know, I'll be quite frank with you, their talent level wasn't probably the greatest in the world, but you're not going to find a harder working group than this group was. And they obviously enjoyed themselves while they were out there, and they enjoyed each other while they were out there. Okay? So, with that, let me introduce to you the junior varsity. And obviously, hopefully, that particular experience last year pays off because there's going to be a lot of positions that are going to have to be filled here in the next couple of years, especially next year. Okay? All right. First of all, Derek Strucker. Derek not here. Shane Miller. Shane played shortstop, third base, and second base. You can't find a team with more utility players. Next, probably, if every kid had this kid's attitude, and there's a couple of kids I'm going to say that about tonight, I would coach forever. Because he's just a wonderful young man to be around, and he does anything and everything you ask him, and that is Justin Jacoby played out there. Next young man who isn't here with us tonight is played catcher for us for most of the year, and that is John Weeman. Another young man who did a lot of you have to be in the dugout with this kid to appreciate it. The dry sense of humor is unbelievable. That's Brian Upgraff. Unfortunately, Brian isn't with us tonight. Another young man, again, one of those kids that if everyone was like him, I'd coach forever. And I got to tell you a little story. This kid was starting him behind the plate, and he's got that wrestler's mentality, which I love in a catcher, because, I mean, they just get in the dirt, put their nose in the dirt type of mentality. Didn't quite have the arm strength that we needed at the varsity level. He knew it, and so we thought, well, we needed an infielder because the JV ran short. I mean, they only had 11 players, okay? And so we needed an infielder, and so we decided to try him there, and he played shortstop, second base. He got knocked in the head with Justin up. I don't know how many of you know this. He knocked unconscious up there, got a concussion, funniest thing you've ever seen in your life. He asked Brian Updegraff if he pitched 8 times in about a 2-minute span. Fortunately, well, he's a wrestler, that's why he's hard-headed, that's why it didn't hurt him too bad. That's Ryan Thompson. Next young man really came on very strongly in the year. His defense was quite a bit ahead of his offense until the latter part of the year, and then I thought he really caught fire. Should provide us with some definite help next year in the outfield. That's Chris Kelch. If I recall, Gus said you were 7-1 this year, right, Gus? The JV, okay? And he's a wizard, I'm telling you, because he doesn't throw the ball very hard, but he keeps guys off balance. He's got a good breaking pitch. He's got a good changeup when it's on. And Coach and I, kiddingly called him the wizard because we don't know how he got people out, but he did. So, hopefully next year he's going to be able to step up and help us a little bit in this state Gus. I tell you what, this young man probably improved offensively more from one year to the next, minus some of the seniors. We incorporated some new mechanics and new philosophy this year, which I thought was truly beneficial at all levels. And this young man really incorporated them and believed in him, and it obviously helped him because he went from about a $180 hitter to over 350, I think, for the year, and that's Derek Flatt. Another pitcher's not with us, and did a nice job, and he's going to have to help us most definitely next year on the mound is Robbie Eckwell. Next young man spent a lot of the time on the disabled list this summer. Had a bad arm, and tell you what, his season may have been highlighted from with the fact that he got to come back and play a pretty steady outfield once he got there. Plus, is the only grand slam of any level of baseball in our program this year, and that is Shane Dillon. And so the 2 awards that we need to present here from the junior varsity. Yeah, I know, I just noticed that. It's the Coach's Appreciation Award, the Most Valuable Player Award. The Coach's Appreciation Award, and I think Coach Kinder alluded to this a little bit. This award, as far as I'm concerned, is the most important one. Most valuable player has all the hype and glory to it, but this is an award chosen by the coaches of who they feel exemplifies the attitudes that we want out of our young men. And it's with a lot of honor and pleasure that I present this to a young man who distinguished himself with the most positive approach of a lot of the players in the JV level, and that's Derek Flatt. And the Most Valuable Player Award. It's going to be a lot of fun to have around next year constantly. And that is, there's not a kid that has more enjoyable attitude than Ryan Thompson. Okay, how am I doing? Not bad. Maybe last year's 3 hours. This year we'll make sure we keep it shorter. Next, I'd like to move on to the varsity level. And just like to give a quick overview of the varsity season. To be quite honest, really, Coach Weedman and I sat down and we went back and looked at all the stats from last year. We honestly didn't think we had a prayer to get over 10 wins. Just statistically. Okay? But that doesn't take into account what's inside. When you get a team that's coming back that nobody hits over 280, nobody has more than 5 wins on the staff, nobody has an ERA that's under 3, you're wondering, how the heck am I going to be able to put anything together this year? And I'll tell you what ended up happening, was that when people become seniors, there's a year of maturation and a confidence level that improves and increases, and it should. And that's exactly what you saw this year. And if you ran through those stats are very, very impressive, considering the fact that only 3 of the 9 players, actually 2 of the 9 players, actually put a bat in their hands and stood in the box last year. And yet we had 4 or 5 guys that hit over 300 this year for us. Very impressive. Very impressive. And 1 over 4. Our team batting average was 306. It's a high since we took over the program 4 years ago. Pitching staff was young. It made a lot of strides and a lot of improvements over the course of the year. We had our moments where we had to learn as well and had to grow up a little bit. But we saw a significant improvement in our underclassmen, and I thought significant improvement especially in Nick Tomatich from a year ago. And I thought, for the most part, our pitching staff did an outstanding job this year. And I guess the thing that we can look forward to is the fact that our pitching was pretty young. And that's going to be our strength next year. But with that said, this team, I believe, achieved and reached its maximum abilities. I haven't been able to say that about any team. Yeah, we went to the state tournament last year, but I don't think that team achieved and reached its ability levels like this team did. To go 20-18 should make you, as parents and these players, feel very, very good about themselves. 20 wins is the most we've had since 1989. It's the first winning season we've had since 1991. Okay? And so this program is on the right track. If you'd known what where this program was 4 years ago and know where it's at today, I think you'd take as much pride as the coaching staff does in the road that we've traveled. And these particular seniors that we have to say goodbye to tonight have an awful lot to do with that. Okay? But before we get started, I would like to hand out the letters to each one of the players, certificates and pins, and I'll just say a couple things about each one of them as they come up, because I think all of them are worthy of something. And the first one is a young man who may have more confidence than all of us in here put together. And I mean that in a very positive note, because to be that young and to be that brash obviously lends itself to the success that he had. I don't stifle that. I encourage it, because that's the only way that you can be successful, especially in this game. You've got to have a little bit of that arrogance and that confidence in order to make you successful. Okay? And the young man did an outstanding job. And I should note, he's only been pitching for 2 years. Okay? 2 years. And came into our program last year, and he came in during the winter, during our winter workouts, and he worked his tail off. And he learned some things this year, and we had a lot of confidence with him in certain situations, and for the most part, he got the job done. That's Aaron Bader. Plenty of Advil with that kid. No offense, Bill. Next young man, probably progressed as well as any of the players that we had this year for, I'm going to say this publicly, for not working out as hard as he should have had it, but that's going to change this year. He was second team all-district player. Should have gotten first team all-district player, but Humboldt was in the state tournament. Their coach was fined to make sure that his kid didn't get it. You have to understand the all-district is sometimes political. Made second team all-district as a catcher. Probably played as many positions as any varsity player did this year. Became our #1 pitcher by the end of the year, and provided us with a lot of hope for success in the future. That's Joel Hannibal. Oh, I should mention, the conference certificates are coming from Boone this year. Mr. Kostowski retired. He was the secretary of the conference, and I could always just get them. They haven't come in yet, and as soon as they do, I'll make sure that I get them to you guys. Okay? But there's several of you that should get those certificates. Next young man earned his first varsity letter this year, and you talk about somebody that absolutely surprised us. Because, we had some high expectations, but we thought it was going to take him a while to be able to throw at the varsity level. But hey, if you're left-handed, and you got a little bit of movement on the ball, and you throw strikes, and you keep the ball down, you don't have to throw it hard. And I'll tell you what, the young man impressed me as much as any pitcher we had this year, and I don't know how he did it. And unfortunately, he hurt his arm in the last. I tell you this, the Sheraton game, if you recall, that was the second to last home game that we won 11-10 with three runs in the bottom of the seventh to win it, right, Eric? See you, Eric. He was pitching hurt, and I asked him. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad your arm? He said, it's probably about a 4. And next day I said, how'd your arm feel? He didn't get the decision. I said, but and he took an 8-6 lead in the seventh inning. I thought he'd get through maybe 2 or 3 innings of it, and I had 2 or 3 innings out. We were running out of pitching by the end of the week. And the next day he says, it's about an 8, coach. He says, well, son, then you're done for the rest of the year. And what he ended up doing was straining part of his rotator cuff. So hopefully, with some rest and relaxation, we can get back ready for the fall. That is Joe Phillips. Next young man is a junior. Did an outstanding job for us. Was really in a competition for most of the year at second base, and once we were able to finally direct him in the direction that we wanted him to play in, because we knew if we could get that, he'd be a better ball player, and I think he's been able to prove that to himself. Provided us with a very good, strong double play combination. Whatever offense we got from him was a plus, because basically we wanted his defense and his arm strength, and did an outstanding job for us. And obviously he's going to have, being one of the few players returning next year with any experience is going to have to be a very positive leader for us, and that is Joe Richardson. Next young man is not here tonight, but provided some power for us that we kind of expected but didn't expect. He also solidified us defensively in those last 2 weeks, and will obviously have to help us next year as well, because he's going to be one of only 2 returners really that started, and that is Justin Nelson. Okay. You know, I talk an awful lot about a lot of these kids, and I'm going to get to the seniors here, because this is a bunch that I've been with for 4 years in baseball. That relationship was not only in baseball, but it was in basketball for a couple of years, and in the classroom for 2 or 3 years. And this was the heart and soul and the core of what I feel was probably the best class we've had come through. And with all due respect to last year did not have the chemistry, nor did it have the togetherness that this group had. And I wish that all of you could have experienced what I did on Tuesday when we got beat. And we got beat, we didn't lose. You know, and that's important to understand. And it really meant something to me is I had to look at each one of those guys in the face and say goodbye to them. I knew that was our last time that we were going to be together. But it's going to give me a lot of pleasure to provide them with their awards here tonight. And the first young man had an absolute career year. Hit .415. Led in almost every offensive category that we have. And was one of those young men that when I asked him to take on a different role, he didn't whine, didn't complain. He just said, "That's fine, I understand," and went about his business. You know, and that's what I'm telling you. These kids, this group of seniors, that's why I have so much respect for them. Because they understood the idea of what a team was. And this young man not only received, not only led our team offensively, but also received 7 team all-district awards. And really, in the all-district, as an all-district outfielder, he should probably have been on the first team, just with his batting average, but made the second team nonetheless, and that's Chad Wood. Before I forget, I should show you the plaques that each one. Each year we give the seniors their own plaque, and this is what it looks like then. Real nice plaque. Came from Bob's Trophies down in Indianola. He does great work down there. Yeah. Next young man was the second team all-conference selection at third base. Hit .311 for us. Played what I would consider a better than average third base, and did, I think, perform better than what I expected. And also did a tremendous job for us, especially late in the season on the mound. And you know, he's in my neighborhood, so I've seen him a lot, and I've seen him grow up, and it tears my heart out that I've got to say goodbye to all these guys, but especially this kid, because he, more than anybody, personified the type of work ethic. You knew how many hours this kid put in. Just in the hot days of summer, you'd be impressed too, and you give him all the accolades that I'm giving him now, and that is Nick Tomatich. hold a zero here. Next young man probably did not have the type of season that he wanted on the mound. After being a second team all district pitcher last year, and certainly didn't have the year that I wanted him to have. That's for sure. Their expectations were a little bit higher, but still was relatively close to our number 2 in the rotation. Stepped it up with the bat though, and I didn't expect any offensive production. I thought we'd be lucky if we could get 250 out of him this year. But hit primarily in the number 7 and 8 spot. Picked it up first as good as anybody in the conference. And we're definitely going to miss his long reach next year, because I'll tell you what, he saved a lot of Bates's errors. And we're surely going to miss him. And that is James Thornton. Next young man, when I see 2 of these kids, and one is this kid, I see myself a little bit, because I used to eat and drink and sleep the game like they did. And I don't know of anybody that has more love for this game than this kid right here. And the first day I met him, he's wearing a ball cap, a baseball uniform, sweatbands. And I thought, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what this kid's like when he gets to our level. One of those seniors has stepped up and had his senior year like he should. And, hit 355. Was second or third in our offensive categories, but piled it up. Hit third in our lineup all year. Did a better than average job in left field. And I'm really going to miss his love for this game, because he has a passion for it that a lot of kids just kind of go through the motions with, and it's right to show. This young man, I think more than any of the others, probably exemplifies what I was trying to discuss earlier, the issue of how to be a team player, and understanding the roles, and understanding the limitations. And there is nobody out of this senior class who worked harder than this kid did to try to improve his skills. And unfortunately, he had a very severe ankle injury second game of the season, which obviously limited some of his playing time. By the time he came back, we had pretty much solidified the catching position and asked this young man to play another role for us, which he gladly accepted. Because I don't think I've ever seen this young man frown. I don't think I've ever seen him whine or cry. And when I ask him if he understands, he just looks at me with a smile and says, "You bet." And well, you can't replace the fact of work ethic, because whatever this young man decides to do in life, he's going to be successful simply because he understands how to work at it, and that is Charlie Rush. Next is the man who really, I think, solidified our defense in the outfield. Probably understood how to get jumps on the ball better than any outfielder that we've had. Got great angles to the ball. Really did a tremendous job after we moved him from right field to center field. And probably a young man that if you knew last year, and if you saw him this year, probably had the greatest amount of growth mentally of any player on this team. And some people say, well, there's still some things. I said, but if you knew this young man last year, you'd know how far he has come. And I think the greatest lesson that Josh probably learned is the mental part that he can take with him when he leaves here. Because more than any other game, this one probably will humble you the most and will frustrate you the most, but it's a game that you're going to learn the most from. And Josh just did an outstanding job, not only playing, because what he gave to us defensively, we would take anything offensively, but he became a young man that grew and matured. And it was a pleasure to have around this year. That's Josh Lane. I want to give this young man a lot of accolades, and I think what I said earlier doesn't need to be repeated. I am sincere when I say that what he told me that day that I asked him meant more to me than anything that was said or done this year. And I will never forget that. I'm always going to remember that. Because that could have been a situation where it's been easy to quit, it's been easy to walk away, easy to destroy the chemistry that we had started to create and build. It would have been easy to do that. And he wouldn't do that because he wouldn't hurt his teammates. And that's going to take him farther in life. And when I told him, or when he told me he was going to be a doctor, I said, I want to make sure that I find you to be my doctor and my kid's doctor. That's the kind of kid, that's the kind of young man that I want taking care of those. And that's Eric Beal. Next senior is a young man that exemplifies the idea of stick-to-itiveness. It's been easy for this young man to throw in the towel and say, no, I don't want to play anymore, my playing time isn't enough, I don't want to be here, it takes up too much of my summer. Could have been easy to say, I want to go get a job. Money doesn't buy memories. Okay? And 10, 12, 20 years from now, you don't look back, nobody will remember how much they played. Nobody's going to remember their statistics off the top of their head unless they go find this program. But they are going to remember how their teams did. They are going to remember how they finished in the district. They are going to remember that they were in the state tournament one year. And so for this young man to stick it out and provide us with the type of chemistry and personality that he brought with him was beneficial for us as a team. And it was beneficial for him as a young man to learn that you stick things out, good things happen to you. And Joey ended up playing a little bit, became our backup third baseman at the end of the year and did a nice job. And that is, and I appreciate Joey not quitting. And it could have been very easy for him to do that. And that's Joey Brown. I mentioned there are two kids that I see me in them. And the other one is this young man. You can use a lot of superlatives, a lot of adjectives to describe him. But as far as I'm concerned, the only one that I can say is the young man's going to be irreplaceable. I haven't seen anybody at any of our levels, and they can prove me wrong, that's going to be able to field the ball, that's going to be a team leader, that's going to do little things to help us win, whether it's a suicide, when it's 2 for 2 in the ball game, or sacrifice, and a 2-hole if we need it. Right now, to me, he's going to be irreplaceable because you've always got to be strong up in the middle. The common cliche in baseball is you've got to be strong up the middle, and this is going to be huge, huge shoes to fill for somebody next year. And along with Robbie, as is Robbie, this young man is going to go to Southwestern Community College to play baseball next year. He was first team all-conference selection at shortstop, second team all-conference selection, our second team all-district selection, and is probably worthy of an all-state nomination. And that's Chris Bates. Okay, we'll get on with our awards here. Wow, I'm going to be done for 2 hours. You guys are going to be pretty proud of me tonight. I'm telling you. Wait a second, I got one senior level. Two managers. Okay, we brought in a new one this year to have her learn the ropes because the one senior that we do have is leaving, and although she wasn't there all the time because she was dancing with the drill team. I'm a big fan, you know. She did a tremendous job and really helped Emily with the scant amount of knowledge that she had, but she really learned a lot. And I kept telling her over the summer, you know, this is a fraternity thing. All right, you're going to learn. It's going to grow on. It's like a cult. You know, eventually, it's a cult. It grows on. And I hope that she felt that by the end of the year, because if she didn't, I don't have nobody else. And that's Nicole Wall. Nicole, stand up. I have been blessed, really, for the last few years of having somebody that I can count on to take care of all the little things, like the 5 different lineup cards that I have to write out, that we have to write out before each game. And when you do that 40 times during the year, it gets a little laborious, you know. Making sure that the book is recorded and it's added up, and you can't believe how many different, well, look on the stat sheets, you know how many different stats there are that have to be taken care of in the book. This particular person has absolutely spoiled me, and I have appreciated not only her responsibility or conscientiousness, but just as young lady. And I thank you, Emily, for everything you've done.
Mr. Lammers,
Yes.
on behalf of the parents and the players, we would like to have this as just a little token of our appreciation for taking care of our guys and remembering your time spent with us.
The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out the team captain awards. These were voted on last year by the players themselves. And our 3 captains this year, who I thought did a tremendous job in keeping us focused and headed into a path and a direction that we needed to go in order to be successful. Junior captain was Joe Richardson. Senior captains that were voted was Chris Bates and James Thorson. Next award that I'd like to give is one that I treasure a little bit because this is what I did in high school and college, and I know what kind of a difficult position it is. And as a coach, I'm going to let you in a little secret. You will never hear me yell out at a player or a pitcher on the mound or throw strikes. Because when my coaches used to do that, finally one day I just said, what in the blank do you think I'm trying to do? You know? I mean, it's the hardest job in the world to be able to put that ball over 17 inches and only in one little square. Okay? And so, our most valuable pitcher this year, I think bodes, and it's a great example, bodes well for what our future is, because our future is very bright considering what our pitching staff will look like next year. Young man was 7-2 with a 3.33 ERA, and really provided us a rock of confidence when he was on the mound. And he got better as year went on. You know, a couple bad starts, but those were growing pains. I look at it as a growing pain, and just did an outstanding job for us. Next award is the Most Valuable Offensive Player Award. And when we compile this, we take a number of categories and we rank them. And I have it right here if I can look. They include batting average, they include RBIs, they include slugging percentage, they include on-base percentage, they include doubles, triples, home runs, and also stolen bases. And what we do is we go down through and we rank them, and whatever their total is, the lowest total score, ends up being our most valuable offensive player. And as I said earlier about this young man, there were a number of seniors who had career years, and they should. When you become a senior, you should step up. And this young man certainly did. I mean, he got off to a blistering 6.42 pace in the first 2 weeks of the season. I've never seen a kid hit the ball like that the first couple of weeks. And to his credit, he maintained that 400 above average, even with a little bit of adversity of having moved to a new role in the last couple of weeks. It didn't affect him, he accepted it, and he went on and still performed. And that is Chad Weber. Most valuable defensive player is not all about statistics. It's about what's important to a ball club. And as I said earlier, the old baseball adage is that you must be strong up the middle. If you're not strong up the middle, you're going to be a hurting unit. As I said earlier, this young man has solidified what we considered a real weak position until he took it over last year. And he may not have the strongest arm in the world. That's probably why he's playing second base at college level. But he sure can pick it and gets rid of it in a hurry. And that's Chris Bates. Chris? I have 3 Coaches Appreciation Awards I'd like to give real quick. And I already provided you with the criteria of what this award is. And I've already said probably as much as I can say. There's no more superlatives or adjectives that I can say about these young men. First Coaches Appreciation Award goes to Eric Buell. Second Coaches Appreciation Award goes to Charlie Rush. You know, I bet you guys don't know how much time this kid has put in. If you knew how much, yes, Helen, I know you do. Charlie was there for almost every pitching practice. And you have to understand, when we start pitching practices, We have pitching practice in the fall that runs for a month and a half. We go from September to the end of October. Then we have individual pitching lessons between December and the first semester. When we come back after the first semester break, we start full team workouts from the end of January until May when we get started in baseball. So no one's ever going to accuse us of not working at it. And I'll tell you what, this young man was my right-hand man the whole time because he caught almost every time, and nobody will ever put in that kind of time like he did. Honestly, God. And Charlie, I really do appreciate that because the most unheralded position is always going to be that second and third team catcher. But they are the most important position and player that a coach has to have. Charlie, thank you very much. The last one, and this was a very tough decision, and actually should have gone probably two more, but it came right down to it. I, as a coach, didn't feel like we were getting the leadership that was needed at the beginning of the year. And if there's one young man that I could turn to, that I thought could provide that type of leadership and make sure that it was headed in the direction that it needed to be headed in, because of his particular personal qualities, I felt that he would do the job, and I named him a captain just simply because, from a coach's standpoint, not because of kids, because I felt he was needed as a captain. And I appreciated all of his hard work as he was a pitcher who put his time in, and obviously showed that improvement from last year to this year. Also in the field and the plate. That's a big time. Before I give out the most valuable player award, kids did vote on captains for next year. I meant to do this when I give out the captains awards. This year we did something a little bit different. I think sometimes captains can be elected from a popularity contest. I'm not saying that we've ever done that, but I've seen it done in some other sports. And so this year we put some criteria to it. Our kids vote for the captains because we want it to be an honor, we want it to be a privilege, we want it to make it something special, and something that is kids feel that they have a responsibility. Criteria. Our captain should at all times show a positive approach to practices, games, teammates, coaches, fans, and opponents. He does not show any outward emotions that make themselves or the team look bad. 2, be a positive role model in and out of school and show complete dedication to the baseball program by adhering to the rules outlined in the handbook. 3, be a positive influence on the team player, whether they're playing or not. 4, be willing to make other teammates better by their example of hard work and dedication, practices, games, and positive verbal reinforcement of practicing games. 5, be willing to put in extra time in the off-season, make themselves better, and encourage others to work hard in the off-season. 6, help create team unity and chemistry among all team members. Be respected by his teammates for his abilities and his personal qualities. 8, be able to provide leadership on their own accord. 9, be trusted on by the coaches to provide positive leadership. And 10, a person with strong leadership qualities. And it is a pleasure to announce for the 1999 season that our 3 captains that are so duly elected by all of those that were on the varsity this past year, I think, exemplify this criteria. And they are Ryan Thompson, Joel Handerhan, and Joe Phillips. And last but not least is the most valuable player award. And I think that the election, or the voting of this award, I think truly exemplifies the unselfishness of this particular team. Because it would have been very easy for seniors to gang pile and vote in a senior. But they didn't do that. They voted with what they felt was a person who provided the most valuable service to them. And to be quite honest with you, I would have to agree. Not, and mostly simply because of what he provided for us in terms of position and production. He not only played catcher, he played third, played first, and he pitched. And the 1998 Most Valuable Player Award goes to Joel Henry. Okay.
We're gonna make it under 2 hours. This is impressive.
Um,
I was voted in on this again. I have some things for the coaching staff. I think the coaches sometimes also don't understand how much they mean to the players. It's really good to have a coaching staff that is going to be a coach to you first, but is also someone that you can go to if you have a problem in any other part of your life, and it's easy to joke around with when it's a time that you can't joke around. And like Coach Kinder said, they have some pretty long days and nights. I think a lot of the guys can attest to that. So we decided to get them gift certificates to restaurants. Or their girlfriends. He didn't really have a significant other, so we decided for him that the guy should take him out to a nice place that we thought.
You're all going to be over 18. In conclusion of this award, it's time to wrap up and do some housekeeping. First of all, thank you parents for all the food. You know, every year before this, I think, man, maybe we ought to charge and like get it catered in. And then every time I look at that spread, I'm thinking, you know, what better food or spread could you get than that right there? So, fellas, give the parents an ovation, please, for all. Second, Betty Tomatich, I forgot this last year, but I'm not going to forget it this year. Betty provided us with a really nice cake that has Norwalk Baseball 1998 on it, and thank you, Betty, because we appreciate it. Please take some of those pieces of cake home because Betty doesn't want to take them home. I'd like to conclude tonight with a couple of thank yous. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Collins, our athletic director, who's not able to be here tonight. He's on vacation. Mr. Collins really provides us with more support than I think you see in public, and is a very steady influence in our program. I would also like to recognize Tom Fish. You would stand, Mr. Fish, please. Mr. Fish, although he's left our building and is now working in a new building, is a very strong supporter of our high school athletics, and I am sure that now that he is taking on his new role, that we will see an increased, hopefully, steadfast amount of support coming out of the central office as well. So thank you, Mr. Fish. We appreciate all your support. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the coaches. I know Coach Weidman isn't here, so I'm not going to thank him, but I would like to thank Coach Hanrahan. Mark is a young man that I have a lot of respect for because he has a lot of abilities. And he showed me a different side to him this spring. He probably has more intuitiveness about the game of baseball than any young man I've ever met in my life. He's got instincts and understands it better than, I did when I was that age. He provided us with a very calming effect on our pitching staff. Once I saw what his ability levels were, I just simply told him, I said, Mark, you got hook pitchers, take them, and make sure they can produce. And if you know Mark, calming is a very good word because he's so laid back, nothing bothers him, and I think that is very, very positive quality for pitchers especially. So Mark, and you have to understand, he did it for nothing, and he was at every ball game, he was at every practice, and he only did it because he loves the game of baseball. And I sincerely thank you for that, Mark. Next, I'd like to thank Coach Kinder. Coach Kinder, as a freshman coach, puts in more time than anybody else because not only is he at the ball field at about 8:30 in the morning, getting the field ready for his game on that particular day or taking a bus ride somewhere. We're usually playing the same night. He jumps our bus, goes along with us, or stays and helps get the field ready for the varsity game after his is done. And I'm telling you, he's there from 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And there is no other position that demands more time than his. And did an outstanding job with our freshman group this year, and I hope, like heck, that he comes back and helps us next year. Coach Kinder. And last but not least, I would like to thank my daughter, Paige. Can you wave at everybody? No? Game the other night, and I didn't want to bring this up, but I have to, because that game last Tuesday, even though we were on the wrong end of things, was one of the greatest high school games I've ever been a part of, just simply because the stakes were so high, and because the game proved itself to be the greatest game in the world, and you were that close, and the gods reach down, and they just take it right out of your heart, right out of your stomach, And that's the glory of baseball. No other game, and I dare you, I ask you to provide me another game that can do what that did to us the other night. There isn't any. But on the flip side of that, we've been on the other side, and you learn from those situations, even though we got beat. And I came home, and I'm pretty depressed, to say the least. And Paige is still up, and I said, Paige, who won tonight? And she looked at me and she said, I don't know, Daddy. I said, thank you, because I guess it wasn't that important. That made me feel very good. And then last but not least, everything that you see here tonight is not my creation. I'm not too sure I put flowers in front of the podium. But, she is my rudder of my ship because she keeps me steady. If you knew what kind of moods I go home with sometimes, none of you could probably stand it. But she seems and has a knack to make sure that I don't drown in this game. She keeps me afloat, and I love her for that, and I appreciate that, and there's my wife. And with that, folks, I have nothing else to say, and I am under 2 hours. Greg?
Yeah, I didn't ask the parents, but I'd like to speak for the senior parents and let you know, Al and the rest of you folks, how much we appreciate all the time you put into the kids. And also to the senior kids, we have targeted viewers for the basketball team, many of you are on that. You guys won't know for hopefully at least 25 years. We're still rushing how much we've enjoyed the last 5 or 6 years following every one of you playing sports. And we could care less whose kid it is at the play or whose kid's shooting the last free throw. We're there for every one of them, and I've enjoyed it more than you can imagine. I'm sure for every senior parent, probably everybody in here, how much we've enjoyed that, how much we've missed you seeing kids, because you're all good kids. We very much appreciate the fact that you have good character and a great season. So
things for you parents that no longer have any physical attachment to our program anymore. I hope that you will maintain an emotional attachment to us. Please come back and watch us play. And the same is to be said of the seniors that are now leaving. Like I said, every banquet is the conclusion of 1 year, and we say goodbye to the seniors, but it also marks a new beginning, and hopefully the same type of success that these seniors have established will be carried on by our underclassmen. Thank you, folks. Have a great rest of the summer. Have a great winter. Have a good time. See you.